welcome back to day 47 of Survivor 50 Seasons and 50 Days. I just finished watching Rachel win Survivor 47 in what is looked at as one of the better seasons of the post-COVID era. We have two guests tonight. One of my OGs from the first time I did this 5-ish years ago. We have Josh. Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to do this one last time, one last ride. What was it about 47 that made you want to do this one this time around? Because last time it was Island of the Idols. And
yes. I wasn't going to bring it up, Drew, if you did it, but yes, no, I am here for a season that is of much higher quality than the last time we chatted. But I'll talk about 47. But first, Coach Drew, I gotta just say, you really were there for the beginning. I know some people, they followed me over at Future Past Survivor, what I do with Brian, where we talk Survivor and tactics. But you're the one that gave me my start. I really started my podcasting journey with you. And then now we welcome in another friend of mine who has also been there for a while. So Mark, who I'll let Drew introduce, but Mark and I used to have a Lego Masters podcast where we would recap each season of Lego Masters. So this is a fun reunion for me. And then to top it off, we have a great season with Survivor 47, which we'll get to.
And so Mark's returning from last time. Mark, thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you can hear us yet. I know you're getting – we'll give him some time. But Josh, just 47. What is it about it that made you want to do this one in particular?
Okay, 47 is my favorite New Era season, including 50. And from 41 through 50, it is my top of the tier charts there. I genuinely just think it is someone I saw in the chat here already said it's a very gamer season. That is my favorite aspect of Survivor, and what I love talking about more than anything is the game quality. And there's some very specific things that happened this season that really titillated me, which we can talk about. But one, Andy is my guy. I genuinely have never watched someone play Survivor I think in a way that approach the tactical aspects of the game in the way I would. And also just, I think I just felt like he was a real avatar for me and my co-host Brian out there in a way that we hadn't seen. There's a lot of gamers and tacticians, but I think there's something about the way that Andy really specifically views strategy that was, that just was really easy to identify with. So he's my guy, but there's a lot more than just Andy this season. Rachel's amazing. Sam, Genevieve. Looks like Mark is back and can hear us. So Mark, what's up?
I actually can hear you. Hey guys. I love 47. I think 47 is top 5 seasons of new player seasons of all time. I think the castest game to play, whether you love them or not. I think the mechanics of the game are really fun. And it's just a really, really good season.
Yeah. One of the things that I feel like I've kind of brought up a lot over the last 7-8 days is similar to Vanuatu or Edge of Extinction. I feel like if people gave a lot of these seasons another chance, they would see that they are not as bad as Reddit tells them that it is, except for 47, which is always being looked at as one of the best seasons, not only of the post-COVID era, but potentially all time. At the end of this, I'm going to say where I have it ranked in my personal list. And I don't think it's going to surprise anyone because it is just inherently a very good season. Just a quick little note. My dad knows 2 Survivor players ever because he listens to both their podcasts. He knows David Sampson and he knows John from this season, both first boots. So he has never had a chance to watch anything past episode 1 of Cagayan in this season because they both go.
I mean, they're great seasons though, so
So, but just Josh already touched on a few of the players that kind of stood out. I'm thinking more preseason and initial observations in that first 5 to 10, 15 minutes of the episode. Who are the people that stood out to you, Mark?
Well, okay, it's preseason. One person stood out to me very much because they actually are a friend of mine, and has been a friend of mine since 2018, which is Andy Bruda. And I was so excited to see him play. And of course, Asia because RHAP. And of course, John Lovett because Pod Save America. Like those are the people like when you saw the cast, I was like, okay. But like the thing about this cast that like I really don't think gets touched enough is the fact there's people like Sam Phelan, who on paper is pretty much like the most boring Survivor player ever, but in practicality is a really strong, smart player. Like, and the thing about the season is that everyone's like playing really hard. Like even people I don't like in the season. There's one person I don't like in the season, and man, that first half of the season is a slog because of them. And that's all I'll say about that. But it's just like I love this season because like you don't know where it's gonna go. Like I think like somewhere after Annika gets voted out, like everyone starts to be like, okay, maybe that Rachel girl can be good, you know? And then like she does really well, like as an audience, like that's like what you see. And like I think like this season is has some of the best tribal councils I've ever seen in the whole series. I think that everyone's playing hard and playing because they want to be there. And I think like other seasons are highly ranked in the 40s, which I know you just watched both those, Andrew. So I feel like most people have 45 and 46 also in the top three for the 40s. For me, 46 is very high up. I almost recorded with you about that, but like 44 is like one of my favorites of the 40s because I love strong characters, and 47 has strong characters and really strong gameplay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh no, I agree. I think it's just such a fun mix, and I think was the culmination of the new era in so many ways, where the game mechanics didn't get in the way of themselves. The players figured out some creative strategies with the tools they had, and then you had some real conflict, some real like unique personalities, and so it just checks a lot of the boxes of what you want to see as a Survivor fan, whatever angle you're coming at it from.
And the Beware advantage didn't suck.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about how they changed it up a little because they do, and it starts in 45-ish with a couple of the changes they start to make in this post-COVID era. And I think even in 47, where it doesn't start with a Jeff narration, it kind of just starts with a confessional. There's a lot that the season has going for it, including, and so I'm just gonna harken back to last season. And the backlash that a certain player got for not voting for her ally at the end and blah, blah, blah. Today, I have Rome. And for years, fans have clamored for, they don't do villains and we need a villain and this, that, and the other. And then as soon as we get a villain, we don't like this one. We don't like this one. I'm not a villain person, so I don't necessarily care. But we don't want this one. And Mark, I'm assuming that's who you were alluding to. If not, I have no idea.
I don't want to say too much, but names have been said in this episode already is the person. I'll say that.
So it's not Sue Smee, Mark. It's not Sue Smee.
I'll never forget because I went to the Bryce and Wendell watch party because this was like right before I moved to LA, and I was like, I'm gonna do the VIP thing, and like the whole VIP thing was like all like Survivor and like people like from like reality TV, and like this was like a week after I found out I was gonna be in Squeakers, so I was telling a couple people, and I remember like Sue Smee was like there with her whole family, while like everyone else from 47 was in LA for the finale. It was like, but like all of Sue's like family was there, like they're like all their Tsunami shirts on. I'm like, okay,
that's fun. Yeah,
Josh, did Rome hop into your chat at all 2 summers ago? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
2 summers ago, all of a sudden there was a person from season 47 that was hopping in on a lot of podcasts in the chat and would basically say a lot of things that were going to happen in 47. And it took, I remember talking to Phil from the Specialist about it, like who he thought it was, who I thought it was. He was hopping in, and it turned out to be Rome, which obviously
I haven't heard this lore.
What happens later after he gets voted out and like boot orders and all that, it kind of made sense. But Josh, what were your thoughts on Rome this early part of the season? We don't have to go like down the Rome path right now, but just did he stand out to you in these first couple of episodes?
Okay, typically enjoy, like, what I think makes the show the best is when you have tactically aggressive people on the show. You don't want people who are, you know, like they're not bringing the isms, you know, to the show. You don't want those kinds of people. You want people who, though, are willing to cause conflict with their gameplay. And I will say, Rome was willing to do that. And so in a way, I am happy to have that. There's so many people, because the meta of the new era most of the time is just like, get along with as many people as possible, especially in the pre-merge, where, you know, if you're a smart game player, savvy game player, you're just going to try to, like, just be everything to all people, and just, you know, no, everybody's going to like you. And that's how you get through. I mean, that's like, you know, Sam on his tribe or whatever. Like, you know, there's so many good Survivor players that do that. But so you have to, like, I feel like you got to sprinkle in some people that are going to cause some conflict. Otherwise, you're just going to get boring, stagnant gameplay. And that does happen in some of these pre-merges, you know, in the new era. And I do think that at the very least you could say is that he prevented some of these votes from being boring.
Yeah, that's and we're going to talk about his boot episode a little later. I want to.
Do either of you know German?
Yeah.
No, when Andy votes him out with the speaking German.
German.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Talking about Andy though, I remember being at a watch party when his moment happens during the premiere, and I remember everyone in there thinking that it was all ploy. And this time around, at no point did I ever think it was, like, it all felt real. And I didn't have the benefit of hindsight because I forgot that moment even happened, because I haven't watched this season since it aired. And the fact that he's able to, Josh, I know you brought it up, the fact that he's able to bounce back, I compared him, because she's fresh in my head. Liz Wilcox had like a slower start and was trying to do a lot during her season and wasn't really getting the credit until, you know, we have Nick Wilson, who has a very, very, very slow start. We have Emily Flippin, and I would put Andy in that category of
a few days. Aubrey Bracco.
But Andy, I feel like, becomes the, I won't say main character, but the most compelling character from this moment. Mark, you've known him longer than he has been on the show. What qualities did you see out there that remind you of the real Andy?
It was like, it's so weird. Like when you think about, like, so like most of my knowledge of him was playing Mafia with him, like with Kalish and all the crew back pre-pandemic. Like that was it, you know. And he would swing by post-pandemic when we still did Mafia, then at whatever bar we were at, like St. Pat's or whatever bar we were popping at that week. And I remember like I even remember when 44's finale was happening, and I remember he like came to the Bryce Wendell event and he said hi to me. I like talked to him, and like Don, I remember like I was like with him when he met his girlfriend Shannon. Like it was that like that whole thing, and this was like right after he got cut from 45, I believe. So like it was his first time like seeing it, and it was like a trailer and all that stuff. And I remember like being like, Andy's cool. Hopefully something good happens for Andy, because like Andy's like a good smart guy. Like, and like in general, I think his edit is pretty good for him. Like it's like a pretty on, like, as a person that's been on reality TV, people like, you know, like you look and see how people's edit art is versus how they are as a person. And sometimes like the edit's a little bit flared up big or whatever. But like the thing is, like with Andy's like anxiety attack and everything like that, I think the show gives it the weight that it needs and the time that it needs. Like I've been rewatching Code Wrong also, like with the whole like medevac situation. It gives it to the time, so it feels real. Normally, like when it feels like something weird happens on the show, it doesn't have the time. And I feel like they spent like 5 minutes on Andy in that first episode before
they do give him
before his meltdown happened, right? Like they gave him like because remember he's like over there on the side for like 2 or 3 minutes before he even starts talking really. And like I know I have anxiety. I know Drew does. I'm 80% sure Josh does. But it's a thing of like if you have an anxiety attack, like the worst thing to ever do is like when you start talking, because you just don't know what you're doing. And like maybe I'll say the right thing, maybe I won't say the right thing. I don't know. But like I do think in general the edit's really accurate to how Andy is as a human being. A little bit awkward, really smart, chaotic, and fun.
I did not know. I would not say Andy and I were friends before he played, but during his season, I went back to check some threads I had made when Rachel played her shot in the dark before her idol. That was something that my co-host and I had discussed for
about. I remember you talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, like for almost 2 years before she did that, we had been talking about that tactic. So, anyways, so she does that. I go back and I was like, I posted some stuff about in the RHAP face group. I go back in the comment section from my post is a comment thread that Andy and I had going back and forth. This again, almost 2 years before this season, and so again, not my friend, but two huge nerds who really care about the shot in the dark rules and the tactics and the creativity of stuff you could do with it. And so then fast forward, I have since he's played, Andy has come on my podcast to talk with us. We had a great deep dive with him about that we called Surviving the Pre-Merge with Andy. And we walked through some of this stuff about how he really like bounced back. And this is like the proof of concept of like kind of our endeavor over at Future Past Survivor. And what I love is that sometimes, the game of Survivor is like 90% socially. But sometimes when you like mess up socially, there are practical, tactical things you can do to work your way back. And what Andy does from the moment he hits rock bottom to then getting to the merge is some of my favorite Survivor pre-merge gameplay of all time. Like he goes to Sierra and, he exchanges his shot in the dark. And he told me like whatever outside of our podcast, but like that, like they did like off the air on our podcast, he told us that like he like proposed to her and like got down on one knee. Is like, I am like putting my life in your hands, and he's like being dramatic, but like giving her his shot in the dark so that she'll trust him. He's finding the beware advantage and then leaving it there so that he can go tell Sam because he wants Sam to trust him and knows that if he can like just strictly deliver information to him that Sam will trust him. Now, obviously they go behind his back and it's not ideal and all that stuff. However, like the trust that like is built with Sam in that moment is crucial to getting the Annika blindside to go forward in a moment. So like it just like the realization and self-awareness he has after he hits rock bottom of like to rebuild from there is just, again, just one of my favorite runs in Survivor history.
Like I think the Gala tribe might actually be one of the great tribes in Survivor history. Like I'm really like definitely I think like the top 3 for sure of like of the new era for sure. Like I'm trying to think of like the iconic tribes of the new era, and like I can't think of like any other tribes that are iconic that aren't disasters. Like every character is really well fleshed out. I think that even though you get John for one episode, it's a great episode for him. Annika is a really fun kind of like mischievous player. Of course, Rachel's incredible. Sierra's like kind of a little bit blah, but she's not bad blah. I think Sam's.
Yeah, she just kind of gets. She's the merge boot, so they just are like not going to spend a lot of time with her, So.
Yeah, but like Sam, like I said, this rewatch, Sam really stood out for me a lot, and of course, Andy always has stood out, like because he is the most interesting player in this cast, in my personal opinion. Not because I know him, but like
not biased at all. But no, but I mean, I agree too. Yeah,
definitely the most compelling. And before we kind of move on with some of the other things that happened here pre-merge, what I also forgot is, despite the fact that she's now looked at as a new era, whatever you want to call it, legend, Genevieve is kind of just not there until the Keyshawn episode. In fact, I remember watching this season the first time and actually thinking that Genevieve with glasses and Genevieve without glasses were two totally different people. So watching it today, it's like, oh yeah, it's Genevieve. Why are we not getting anything from her? And it's because the season is backloaded with her arms race with Rachel. Josh, Genevieve 1.0, thoughts?
I mean, she literally is just like, where's Waldo? Like that was the Genevieve 1. When you say 1.0, I was thinking 1.0 within the context of her season. Like the beginning, purple Genevieve. The beginning of Genevieve was nothing, until she gets that panic dream about Keyshawn. And, the thing about Genevieve, what she's shown across both of her seasons, is she'll cut a biznatch. You know, like if she wants to get somebody out, whether they're her ally or her mortal enemy, like she gets singularly focused on that and will just cut them out, like just assassinate them, like at a moment's notice. She was literally maybe top 5 of my list of people I would be most afraid to play with, like honestly, ever in all of Survivor history, because of that killer instinct, which is just like not like it feels like unpredictable, and then it just like happens. So
I guess I have to say, because like when we're thinking about like art from this year, as we all know, the Keyshawn Boot episode is from, we know from the movie Send Help also. In theory, that's the last episode of Survivor that Rachel McAdams' character watched before she got stranded on an island.
Yeah.
yes,
And went basically full Genevieve.
Yeah.
exactly. She embodies the power that Genevieve had in that moment, and she just took that with her to her island. Yeah.
There are 2 moments this season that does the phrase douche chill mean anything to y'all? Do you guys understand what that is? This is a secondhand embarrassment, just like one of those awkward moments where it's like, oh God. But it's the one moment with TK where they're talking about TK while he's sitting at the camp, and the other one when Teeny is showing, I think, Keyshawn Rome's idol box, and he has to like make up why he's showing Keyshawn the box to Rome, or to, you know what I'm saying, Rome's box to Keyshawn. And that's just, there's no real point to that except for I have it in my notes, and I felt so awkward watching that scene today that I had to get up and walk out of my room for a second and then come back. And Teeny's still giving his confessional about how he's going to change Rome's mind, followed by Rome saying, yeah, I don't trust this dude anymore. So, and we move on. Just thoughts on the lockbox / coconut, everything dealing with the Beware advantage this season. Josh.
Yeah, the lockboxes were fun. It caused some chaos on all of the beaches, so that's kind of what you want, but not in a way that sinks people's games. And like some of the stuff they've made people do for the Beware advantages, I think like going back to Xander from 41, where he had to say like the butterflies phrase over and over again, to the point where people, there's other reasons why he lost his final vote, but I think a really underrated aspect of that is like he's made like his first impression to all these people on these mats in the pre-merge are just him hearing this bizarre phrase come out of his mouth, and they're like, this guy's a loony, you know? And so I think at least like what they're fine-tuning the Beware advantages over these seasons, and I think they generally get better and better. And so this is, again, I think the culmination of the new era in so many ways, in that it is, I think, my favorite version of the Beware advantages that they have hidden at each tribe.
Mark?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Beware advantages that they never really utilize so often is the actual true danger of finding one. Like with a whole bunch of like knots and stuff like that in this time, and like all that like weird things. It's like the blood from Sue's, like stuff like that, where it's like you could get fucked over bad. Which is another meaning of what Beware could be. Instead of like Beware, you're gonna lose your vote. It's like, no, Beware, you're gonna have to come up with an insane lie. I love that. I love it so much.
Again? Oh, I cut my but what's that all over there?
Let's get medical. We should get medical. No, fine. I'm just bleeding out my head.
The edit does a good job in the moment of making it seem like Sue does clean it up well, and then obviously when
like 2 episodes later
merge happens, it's like, oh no, they clearly like this just looks like this. The paint idol, as they continue to call it towards the end of the season.
I think it's kind of fascinating. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. But I think it's kind of fascinating. Like when we look at the characters in the season, and I'm not using people as like humans. I'm saying like characters because there's an edit. I think there's 17 like really, really unique, interesting characters, and like the one normal character is Kyle. And I have no issue with Kyle. I have really no issue with Kyle. His boot is the most boring episode of the whole season because it's the most obvious. But like I love Kyle. Like I love his fight with Sue. I love all that stuff. But like it's so wild to me that this season is just like insane people to Survivor season. You know, like
which I think is 46. I think
46 more so, yeah, because
46 and
holy crap.
Gabon are like right there for me as far as.
But like, have a quirky character Survivor season. Like,
this definitely feels like a Survivor 46 feels like, you know, this is how do I put this in a nice way? Survivor 46 is, you know, everybody who, you know, that from your high school that is like the person who didn't sit with anybody else for whatever reason. Charlie's too smart, you know, Q's too busy. Like they're just, let's just all put them all together in a season. Survivor 47 is a lot of very quirky people for sure, and they're like more all like kind of like this like surprise nerd. Like that's almost like the theme of the season in a weird way is, or the theme of the cast is like, yeah, like Sam, yeah, he's a jock, but also surprise, he does drama, you know, like Andy is like, you know, yeah, he's having this breakdown, but also he's gonna be super smart and being able to figure out how to like, you know, win his way back. Like there's just so many, like, again, Genevieve, she, you know, seems normal and then she will just cut your throat. Like I just feel like there's so many things that like people present with this season that like everybody kind of takes for granted, and then they like, I forget the word, subvert, yeah, your expectations of their character type.
Saul is like kind of normal, and then he gets really out, and he's like wearing his vest.
Yeah,
like that's all. I mean. Like,
yeah. Like everybody throws a surprise punch this season, and it's fun for that. Yeah. Whereas, yeah, Survivor 46 is just all whales. Everyone's just all punches all the time.
Yeah. I didn't use this phrase yesterday, but like I always said, the Gabon is Total Drama Island if Total Drama Island was remade into a TV show. A live action TV show. 46 is kind of the remake 10, 15 years later where, oh, we're going to bring it back, but we're going to update it. 47 is not either one of those, but is even better because even though we have all of these cartoon characters ish, they're more compelling. And I feel like we're all kind of on the same page with that. It just seems like it flows better this time around. And Gabe even brings up, you know, oh man, I watched last season. Everyone's gonna vote out idols, and that's not what's gonna happen to me this time. Like they have 46 fresh in their brains. They know what they don't want to do, and they don't want this. Even though we like 46, they don't want to be associated with 46.
Can I tell you an embarrassing thought that I had like right as we were heading into the merge? I was like convinced that Sue was going to win. And the reason why that I thought that she was getting this bizarre winner's edit was because the whole lying about her age thing, right? It was so strange that she was lying about her age. But what was stranger was that the show didn't like ever confront, like show like people being like in confessional being like, Sue's not really, you know, 45 or whatever. I forget what was she saying? 40? I don't remember her exact.
She was like 46 or so. Yeah, like
yeah. But we never got a confessional of anybody saying like, I don't know if that's true. Like it just like was blowing my mind week by week. Like, why are we not getting this? And I was like, are we getting like this like set up for this like mastermind run from Sue where she is gonna like, you know, and they're like kind of just, you know, burnishing the edges here, making it seem smoothed out, like her character is in control of everything. Because don't forget, she also was playing very well socially and strategically in the pre-merge on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just saying, when we got to the merge, I was like, oh, Andy's awesome. This is great recovery. But Sue's going to win. She's going to steamroll everybody. She's Thanos. Like, they don't even know it.
Well, I'm curious to see when, as we move on, I'm curious to see when that moment went off in your head that this is probably not going to happen. But yeah, we'll save that for the merge. There's a few more things I want to touch on pre-merge. One, Rachel snatching the rice, which I think is just a very fun moment. It doesn't really go anywhere, but I'm glad that she at least tried. Jeff calling her out, whatever.
She's literally like in my top. Like, Kyle, sorry, like literally, she is in my top 10 winners of all time. Like, easily best winner of the 40s. I love her so much. I think she's brilliant. Like, oh my god. Sorry, I had to cut off because like Like
No, you're
everything that
good.
she does is so fun, and like I'll never forget the RJP in New York event was the day was the and it was the Annika episode, and that's the time she's on the wrong side of the boat. And then I'm like, I really enjoy this show. She's like, really? I'm terrible. I'm like, no, you're great. I really enjoy you. And like, of course she's lying through her teeth because she knows she's great. But um, I just love her. I think she's brilliant TV, and I want her. I want her on every show that she wants to do.
Yeah, we can talk
And
about
we'll have more time to
Rachel as a
stand
winner
stand
later.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going to talk about the two big rivalries of the pre-merge. Sue versus Kyle and Rome versus Saul. Mark, we'll stick with you here with the Sue versus Kyle one. Josh will go to Rome versus Saul for you. Mark, why does Sue hate Kyle so much outside of the fact that he voted for her once?
Because she has to hate
That's just the response I
someone.
wanted.
Because she has to hate someone. Like that's it. Like it's like it's the gift that keeps giving. It's just like one-sided hatred will always be fun for me on Survivor. Obviously no hatred ever is good, but like it's just so funny watching somebody like, I fucking hate this person. I want them down. And that person's like, here's my confession about life. And the other person's like, I hate Drew, like or whatever. And like Drew's just like they're like picking flowers or whatever. Like I mean, it's happened to me right now at Survivor New York. Like I'm like, I like Brian, but I want Brian gone. Brian has to go. And Brian's like not even talking about me. I love it.
Yeah, it's literally just the moment from Mad Men when the guy's in the elevator and is like pissed at Don, and Don's like I don't even think of you, and that's just it's just the most one-sided rivalry. And poor Kyle, I think he didn't even realize until he like got out of the game, that like I'm sure probably not until he's watching it back with his friends and family that like, oh my gosh, like Sue really had it out for me. I didn't quite understand.
And then Rome versus Saul. The other, I feel like this one has more legs, and does.
This is aggressive. Like I hate saying that phrase. Well, this is like there's like a real like scary hatred happening here, and like it starts because of the whole Asia situation. Like it's not cute. It's not a good look. It's really like Boston Rob if Boston Rob had no tact.
Yeah, he's trying because he tries some strong arm tactics. Like he tries to get Saul to give him a shot in the dark so he could like blindside him, like really like aggressively in a way that's like posterizing Saul, and it's just like unnecessary for sure. And I do put, if the piece of the pie for the Sue Kyle feud is really like a full pie for Sue as far as like who's to blame for this rivalry. Like the piece of the pie with Rome and Saul is also basically just like a one person pie, for Rome on his end.
And Teeny's giving confessionals where he's saying like, hey, we have this 4-person thing with Rome, but also it's getting very uncomfortable watching how it just won't give Saul time to just sit at the beach and just be by himself because he is at the bottom of this tribe. And it just kind of continues for the rest of the pre-merge to the point where I don't remember who ultimately goes out this episode, but the one where Rome does the puzzle. And in my head,
oh God,
in 20 whatever, and in my head today, it's like this man he's throwing the challenge. He has to be throwing the challenge. I'm still not convinced that he didn't throw the challenge, but we never really get any confessionals confirming that he was. It was a
it's
weird
bad.
time.
It's like bad gameplay. Like that right there is bad gameplay. Like if you haven't tried the puzzle and you're not throwing it, get someone to help you. Like he's sitting there one piece at a time, like boop, 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 nope, boop, 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 nope. Like
instead of a swap this season, we get the Survivor Social Hour. Jeff says, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do something different this season." And for me, I did enjoy the swap last season. I didn't enjoy the swap in 44, where it was basically China but with idols. I did enjoy this kind of middle ground of not quite a swap, but we still get time to kind of learn the tea in all these tribes. Josh, what did you think of the Survivor Social Hour?
Honestly, I don't remember it. I'm just being frank. I don't like who was it? Remind me of the details, because this is out of my mind.
It was no, it's reward. It's a reward challenge where the cast is kind of split up into two teams, and the winning team gets to go to the sanctuary where they get to cook hot dogs and play cornhole and all this other stuff, and also share tea. And that's how a lot of what happens at the merge is because of the stuff that's kind of learned here, including like if you even would talk about the summit, like the summit, more tea comes out here than it does at the summit. Does ringing any bells or no?
Yeah, you know what? It rings one bell, which is that I remember Kyle got a vegan hot dog, while everyone else got regular hot dogs. So that's the detail I remember. But no, I genuinely have no memory of this, and I don't know. I don't know if I got up to go to the bathroom, and I rewatched the episode before I podcast and everything. So I definitely have seen this scene at least twice. Have zero memory, so sorry, I can't really comment.
Oh God, no. Well, that's the thing about this is whenever I ask new people, and both of y'all are OGs, going to have like, no, you could just do a recap and I would be fine with it, or just use prior knowledge. I don't like, none of that matters. And it's I guess because the social hour is the de facto swap this season, I think that's why it is fresh in my head. But like, nothing actually crazy happens here. Before we get to that merge episode, is there anything you guys want to touch on pre-merge that we may have skipped over? Any characters that we haven't really given enough time to?
I think Asia was not. We didn't talk about Asia enough. We granted most of our edits about Rome. I think Asia is an amazing character, and I really would like to see her have another chance.
I do have a question about Asia. It's the Stephen Fishback question of, the question. When I did Cambodia, I had this question where it's like, hey, do you think Survivor was hoping that Stephen would flop because he's a know-it-all? Same thing with her, where it's like, hey, are they hoping that she flops because she's a podcaster and this, that, and the other? I don't think so. It's just, I think that they're always out to get these super fans that talk about the show, but I never saw anything in the edit that would say that.
There was like 5 or 6 people that are podcasters on the season.
Yes.
And she's not even the most famous podcaster from the season.
Yeah.
So
but
like,
she was almost Survivor-wise.
I get what you're saying, but like, I don't think so, because like she never really podcasts about Survivor. She maybe like hopping on like 1 or 2 episodes a season. Mm-hmm. Like I would see her on like the Terran recaps more often than I would see her on Survivor episodes. So
yeah, there's one really strong piece of evidence that points to your parallel here, Drew, and there's a scene where Rome, they win fish as a reward, and he's eating the fish, and the fish that he's eating, he spits it onto her back. And so, yeah. I mean, you could say Asia had a fish back, like for sure. So, I mean, the parallels are just right there.
Fun little editing trick to get there. Okay, so we hit the merge, and this is, I would say, outside of another episode we're going to get to down the line, probably my favorite episode of the season because of how telegraphed everything is. Like, they do not try to hide anything from us. It's one of these fun, it's very similar to the Roger Sexton boot in Amazon, where it's like, we're just going to tell you to your faces, audience, that this is who's going to go home this tonight, and you get to watch this adventure over the next 90 minutes, and it's all entertaining. Josh, the Rome boot episode, what are some of your favorite moments, and was this the perfect time for him to go as a viewer, you the viewer?
Ooh, good question. I mean, it's always hard to know. I like players. Again, this is like a kind of a hot take. I like having NPCs in Survivor seasons, and obviously every person out there who plays Survivor is a human being. But what I mean is that I like having people who cannot win in Survivor be on Survivor, and I think that Rome had dug himself into a hole where he probably could not win at this point, and that's okay for the show's health. And I think the worst, version of this is like the goats, people who just are like, they can just be taken and they're not like really doing anything active. Feral goats, though, like Rome, I do think add a lot to the show. And I understand there's some things that can be annoying, but conflict, like reality TV thrives on conflict. So does like Survivor strategy. It's fun for me to watch people have to diffuse the bomb that is Rome here. So, they vote out Rome. Not 100% confident it's like the best move for every single person here. However, it does feel like he's chaos and his unpredictability. It just is enough for everybody to be like, we'd rather just remove this variable off the game board, and then we could figure out like, to form a strategy where we can actually like, count on the numbers like moving forward. So I totally get it. Why they did that here.
What I forgot about this episode is during that tribal, Jeff lets him sit in his seat and conduct it for a couple of 30 seconds, according to Rome.
Oh,
And
it looked like more than that.
Nice. Oh, I know, but Rome says you gave me 30 seconds. But I found it so nice, and everyone, like, even then, I don't remember who says it, but someone whispers like, "Oh man, that's good for him," Even though he knows ready to happen. I thought it was so, and then he goes out like a player. I always compare it to Rob and Marquesas, where Rob is doing all of this stuff, and as soon as he's out of the game, he's saying "good game" to everyone. He gives a confessional, or his final words are, "Hey, I hope everyone understands it was all game. Like, I would love to know these people in real life. I apologize if I came off as too whatever." Rome did the same. He's like, "Hey, good move, guys. Hey, I hope I added some entertainment to the TV show." I think that Rome, in those last like 2-3 minutes of screen time, definitely saved potential, hatred that he could have gotten from weirdos. Like, you know what I'm saying. Mark, for you, Rome, as far as just characters in the post-COVID era, where is he kind of at for you? Is this someone that you think about often, or you just kind of forget he exists until you watch 47 again?
You're making me try. You're making me want to say things I probably shouldn't say. I'll say this: like, Rome is memorable, which is the most important thing when it comes to people on Survivor wanting to be characters. And like, honestly, the thing that I will always remember most about him are two things. Well, three things really. Like how hard he went. Like the whole Asia stuff was weird for me. But Rome in the well, and also Rome sitting on Jeff's seat. Like, so I remember watching the episode, like, this is happening. What the hell is happening? And like, and he's got his little Paddington hat on, like a little evil Paddington. I love villains, guys. I love villains. But for me, I think Rome is definitely one of the more memorable people from the 40s. Is he my favorite? No, but I think he adds a lot to 47. I think if he went out 2 episodes earlier, he would be a positive Banu.
Okay.
So I think in the edit, he's there a little bit too much for what he provides. But if he was there for like 4 episodes instead of 6, it would be like if Banu's edit, like that big flash in the pan edit, but like positively fun.
Yeah, because
Banu's fun for
Banu's 4 episodes last year, and he has
Banu's fun for 2 episodes. Banu's fun for 2 episodes. If when I said address him in the second episode, perfect.
Yes.
But then that 3rd episode and that 4th episode are truly rough. I'm not saying he hits like Rome hits those levels or anything, but it feels like it's the same hat, like different day. Like, oh, what else is he gonna do different? Nothing. He's just gonna fight with Rome. I mean, he's gonna fight with Saul and talk about how great he is and dance and stuff like that. Like, I get what you're doing, dude, but like, I think if he went out in 15th place instead of 13th place, then it would be a lot better.
This Rome boot starts the Andy Revenge Tour. for the rest, because he didn't know that he was the other name, and he's done with his OG tribe, and he's just going to do his own thing now. And this does start the Andy as the strategist, the over strategist, the rest of the season. This is also where the
comes out party.
Rachel Genevieve, Cold War kind of starts. We're not gonna see it really pay off until way later.
Can I say something before we move much past Rome? Because one of my favorite characters in this season goes out right after Rome. I'm a huge Tiana fan. I think she was really fun. I loved her in preseason. She was actually my winner pick after the first episode. And she's awesome. I want to see her play again. That's all. I think she's really fun and a really cool character.
I also have one more thing about this episode, which is the amulets, which are underrated. They're not as big of a story as they were in 45. Austin with his sandwich and all that stuff. But just again, Andy on his tactical run that he's making, right? That is like realizes with I think Teeny and Caroline, right, are the three that find it. Yeah, they play it for Teeny here. They just flush the amulets, which is the right move. If you're wanting to build trust with each other, is basically just remove the temptation to target each other here. And so I just think it's another one of those things where, like, thinking outside the box of, like, production wants you to use these things or to target each other so they build power. Well, we're going to think of a third way here outside of the box, which is just to flush it and play it for Teeny, who nobody is voting for. So I'm pretty sure it's this episode that they do that, not the next one, which is Rachel shot in the dark episode.
The Rachel. I thought that was the safety without power episode.
Sorry, the Tiana. Sorry, I was thinking. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I forgot about the split one and then this. Yeah.
Yeah, because once again we have to have a split tribe. Oh, we don't have split tribal, but we just have the one. It happens, but we get to the auction. We have the auction back again. I think the second time since season 30. We have the auction back, and this is where Rachel gets the next one of her trinkets with an idol clue, which she inevitably finds back at camp. And I asked this question during 43 or 44. Where they've basically made it a game dynamic now where you can negotiate for rights. It's no longer a, out of the blue moment. Yeah, it's no longer out of the blue moment like it was in 37. Now it's hey, now's the part of the game where we're going to negotiate this. Do you guys like that they've made it basically a game dynamic, or would you rather have still be, I guess, fluid or random? And Josh?
I didn't like it. I think that I think the heart of it is that it's just like a fun thing that happens in Survivor. And I think trying to like make it anything more than that is just not, it just takes away the fun of it.
Mark?
I think some seasons should have it, some seasons shouldn't. I think like it's like some emotion where it's like great and everything, but like give it a break every once in a while so people love it more when it's there. Like it'd be really interesting if, like, can you imagine if what?
Keep on going.
It'd be like really fascinating. Can you imagine like they get to like that rights negotiation stage, and Jeff's like, well, here's when our rights negotiation is, gives them rights. That would be interesting.
That would, or what he did in 50, or what he did. I kind of enjoyed what he did in 50.
I just think that the show is trended towards overproduction to the point where it like the rights negotiation started because Angelina had this like moment, and the show really liked this. Like, let's try to like bottle that up and like manufacture that, moving forward. They do this with so many things. I could think of more, as we continue to talk, but like there's so many things that Survivor just takes and like, oh, like we want to like capture that and like make that happen, right? Like rocks. Remember how they had the rock draw in Survivor 33 with Millennials vs. Gen X, and then they randomly for like 1 or 2 seasons changed the rules so that rock draws would happen automatically whenever a tie was triggered, and then they quietly just like changed the rules back because then they realized it made people play more conservative because they wanted to avoid the rock draws and all that stuff. So when Survivor finds something that they really like, they just like are like, oh, let's just like let's make this more of what it is,
And that's why, for me, Survivor post season 20 it's very hit or miss because they saw all of these big moves happening with all of these idols and everything. And so they said, hey, let's keep on doing this and let's just add more advantages and add more idols to it to get big moves to happen, because that's what the show is really about, right? It's about big moves and idols. It's not about watching people socialize with each other to get a winner at the end. It's who can make the best big move of the season that we can talk about at the reunion. And I've gone on this rant a lot over the last 3 weeks, so I'm going to just leave it there. But Josh, I do agree. They see something happen and they decide, hey, let's have this happen every single time. The law of diminishing returns. But I do like this one specifically because the players are just like, you know what? Fuck it. You can have our shot in the dark. We don't need it. Just give us the rights. and
Yeah.
but this could help you in a game. It's like, yeah, but just take them anyway.
Didn't they just get in 48 also, like a shot in the dark version of it? Or am I making that up?
I'll find out tomorrow. I can't
so.
remember. Josh, do you have anything?
No, let's just keep going. Yeah, we'll keep going. But
okay. Like I said, the Cold War begins with Genevieve and Rachel. And for me, this is one of my favorite rivalries ever.
Yes.
Through 50 seasons of the show. And I think what makes it so much better is the mutual respect that they have for each other, where, they're not, even if they were arguing all the time, I think that it would still be with some respect mixed in there, but they're just laughing about it most of the time because they know that they are each other's biggest competition. Mark, we'll start with you. As far in the grand scheme of Survivor rivalries, where do these two kind of fall for you?
So it's interesting because if we have to divide up between people that actually like each other versus not, and this is on people that actually do like each other type thing. So while there is a rivalry, it's not like you're gonna be like, man, I really hate Rachel because she smells bad. Man, I hate Genevieve because she farts in her sleep or something like that. It's gonna be like, man, this person is out strategizing me. And that's a thing that automatically makes it better, in my mind, because I will always enjoy rivalry when it comes from respect. So for me, I think this is probably top 10 rivalries.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really rank rivalries for myself, but maybe top 5, in that maybe that weird 4 through 8 area, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Josh?
I just think it happens in large part because of Rachel's run, where, and I think when you think of a lot of people that end up having an opposition form against them, it's these people who are immune. It's Ben, it's Rachel, it's Mike Holloway, but then it's also Terry Dietz or whatever, people who if their back is against the wall. And so, you have Genevieve who is putting Rachel's back against the wall. She really is the one that's she's getting a lot of the troops to go against Rachel. But then when Rachel is immune, then all of a sudden, then for Operation Italy, you have the other group basically pointed against Genevieve. Rachel can then use her position to then deflect that back on Genevieve. And so it's really interesting. And then obviously Operation Italy foils that plan. But still at that point, coming up in a few episodes, you have a majority of people wanting to go that direction with their vote. So I just think what's really fun is just that I think they both understand that they both see each other as a specific type of threat, that Rachel she starts to become a threat in the way that people realize it. Genevieve realizes it earlier. People start to realize that Rachel's immune, has this great immunity run towards the end. And Genevieve, on the other hand, is somebody who people don't really perceive as a threat until Rachel starts to really try to make her feel that way. And so I think they both get irked that the other person is really putting their name out there, really making them giving them the respect that they deserve, but doing it so publicly to target them and all that stuff. So that's where it's just I think they're frustrated with each other in the game, and then they obviously are friends outside the game and can respect each other out as soon as they're off the island.
We
or
are
even
going.
on the island. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, skipping ahead for just a second before we get to where we're at here, the moment that they're sitting at camp in front of the other three and are basically saying, "Hey, one of us is going to win," and this pissing off the three people that are sitting there like, "Hey, it could be any of us." It's like, yeah, okay, like it's just this fun banter between two big competitors. Yeah, yes, I can see how the other three would find it obnoxious. We all would find it obnoxious, but to them it was you are my op and you are my op, and we're going to see what happens here at the end. Uh, we're going to get to obviously my favorite episode of the season, and for most people, one of the best episodes, maybe all time, Operation Italy. And I forgot how much actually happens in this episode outside of the Operation Italy aspect, and so we'll kind of run through it here. Genevieve has this moment where I think Sam asked her, like, "Hey, did you mean to be socially closed off to people all season?" And this is something that happened. She has a conversation with Teeny, I think, the episode beforehand, where Teeny's basically saying, "Hey, like, I don't really like the way this, that, and the other." So Genevieve says it was the Keyshawn thing. When Keyshawn said what he said to her on his way out, it really like made her try to basically shut down, so she didn't have these emotional responses to things. And I think that this is really where Genevieve becomes I guess my second favorite person on the season, because we do learn more about Genevieve as a whole player, just in the realms of Operation Italy. But if you want to go back to maybe previous episodes, Josh, what were your thoughts on Genevieve just here and her rationale for why she is doing the things that she is doing?
Yeah, I thought that it was really insightful and self-aware, which is what you love from any Survivor archetype, any Survivor player. It's funny, I will always have this moment watching one of these episodes here at a San Diego watch party, sitting next to a San Diego Survivor legend, Leaf Manson, from One World, and me being like, "Leaf," like I was sitting right next to him, I was like, "Leaf, doesn't she look like Kim Spradlin?" Like, this is like episode 3 or something, and he's like, "Yeah, I could see it. She definitely, she's giving me some PTSD." Like, and I feel like, and part of that was me joking about how, like, I think she's good. Like, I think Genevieve is good. And part of it, though, is that she is a killer. And she, like, and I know that, like, I say that in the game sense, and I say that with respect. Like, not like, she's cold-blooded in the game, but she recognizes that she's, like, this, like, closed-off ice queen, like, where people respect her gameplay, but they're lacking that connection. She could feel that, but the fact that she recognizes like why she's doing that as a defense mechanism out there, because it hurt to blindside Keyshawn. She doesn't want to feel bad about making the moves to get farther. Is a really cool articulation of like what it must be like to play Survivor for like these kinds of stakes. Like you guys have played LRGs, I played ORGs. Like it doesn't always feel good to vote people out, and that's like very, very small stakes. And like what she articulates in on her experience in this episode, but just throughout Survivor, of like the tension of like how to like play as yourself, but struggle to be open and vulnerable, because that means then you could, really open yourself up to a world of pain. And then, but you really want to win. So you got to be smart and strategic and make those like cold calculated moves. It's a really, that is like the beauty of Survivor, is you're asking people to like build social bonds and cash in on the trust and connection that you build with people in order to beat them in the end. And that is like that is like why this show will run forever, beyond Jeff Probst, beyond Survivor 70, beyond Survivor 100. Like, as long as there's TV, they're gonna have Survivor, because that is a amazing formula for like like the human experience of like watching somebody go through that. So good on Genevieve for being like so clear and articulating it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments of the season, in my favorite episode of the season. Mark, want to get to you, because Sam picks Genevieve and oh my goodness, Sam picks Genevieve and
Andy
for the reward, and Teeny's pissed off. He's done. He's done with all of these people. Like, I can't. This is such a dumb move. Everyone's sitting up there mocking Sam. Sam's mannerisms. Sam is dead to them, to quote Abby Maria. And they
it.
basically say, yeah, we're going to, Sam's gone. We're not doing this anymore. Sam's gonna go. Everyone's on this war path to get rid of Sam. And they basically say, like, because we have this underdog alliance of 5 that Rachel is in, but we have this underdog alliance of 5, and one of them is off. So back at the sanctuary, Mark,
Where good things
the plan
happen.
is put into place. Yes, the plan is put into place of how we're going to pull this move off to get rid of Rachel at first. Mark, what did you think of the actual plan of Operation Italy as it was coming to play? Not really the execution, because we'll get to that in a bit.
I mean, watching it, obviously I want good things for Andy, friend. But it's also a thing of like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like everyone's on all three of their asses right now. Like there's no way that like it could work. Like the idea was definitely like I'd say like, a Cherie level gameplay move. And I'm talking like vintage Cherie. We're talking like Panama. We're talking Micronesia. Like it was like I'm gonna come up with an idea and it's not gonna work, but it should work. And then it's like, what the hell? How the hell does this work? Like the 3-2-1, get Eric to give up his idol. Like that's like Operation Italy. In my personal opinion, is not quite that level, but it's a really fun way to shake up the season.
Yeah, it would be. I think one of those top level, like that top tier, if they had gotten Rachel here. It is kind of like a kind of a sucky thing that they had to go for the second target. It still didn't make it any less difficult. Like it was just, it just changed their target, but it required all the same steps, all the same, members of the heist to pull off their part of the trick. However, it does suck. It was a little bit that it was like, you got your second favorite target, and the person who they missed on here because of the challenge does go on to win. However, I will say that's like my negative. I'm starting low because this move is just amazing. First of all, you gotta love a move with the name. I think that more people should have more fun with these kinds of things, naming your alliances, naming your moves. And there's probably some point at which we jump the shark with that, but we have not gotten there, in my opinion. So Andy, Italian chef's kiss for coming up with Operation Italy. I do think I'm pretty sure I've heard him talk about with RHP. He might have said it on our podcast. I don't know, but like that he wanted to name it the Italian Job, and like that's the Survivor is like, oh, we don't have that on Paramount Plus, so you can't name it. That's a different studio that has the Italian Job. So they settled for Operation Italy, but. Yeah, I just think the fact that like my favorite part of Operation Italy is the way that they lie about the idol. That so many bluffs in Survivor fail because you're like, oh, if you don't do this thing, I'm gonna play my idol, and they're like, well, show me your idol. And they're like, I'm not gonna show it to you, and then like, okay, well, it's a bluff. So like the more subtle approach, like still like. Fake idol bluffs have a horrible history in Survivor. The only other successful one really before this was Rupert putting a rock in his pocket and just walking around camp, and not, just walking around with a lump in his pocket. And the reason that works is because it's subtlety. It's not waving in your face of like, I'm going to do this thing. And I think that like the way that they just kind of incept into Teeny, the confidence that this idol is real and it's going to, come out this episode is, I think, the real brilliance behind the whole heist.
Yeah, Genevieve says, Teeny asks, hey, where's the paperwork? And Genevieve goes, oh, I burned it, but I can go grab it if you want. It's like, what? Like this is a no ball situation of no. Everyone should praise no balls, but if you were Teeny and you were sitting there saying, okay, yeah, go get it, then Genevieve has to come up with something better. But because Teeny just buys it, and then when Genevieve is showing Teeny what's going on, if it's not for Andy randomly coming up, because this wasn't Andy wasn't supposed to walk in on them. If it wasn't for Andy walking in on them, Teeny would have had time and he would go like, oh man, this is probably a fake thing. Everything works to perfection with this, and it's still what's Andy going to do? Because Andy is being looked at as a flipper, even like after the vote, and Gabe sitting there saying, "Oh, Andy flipped again." Like we're relying on Andy, the most chaotic player that we have in the game now, with Rome gone, of sticking to this plan that he came up with. And you understand that it might not work, especially when Rachel wins immunity, and we have to focus on Caroline, who Caroline for me was up there as far as potential winners
She's a
Yeah,
very underrated
at the
player.
merge.
Like
She
she's
was
a
my
solo character,
Sue
but she's
heading
great.
into merge.
yeah. If she
Yes,
doesn't go out here this way, she gets a much bigger edit if she's in the end game, and we would have
yeah,
seen this move differently. So I know I was saying like it sucks that they didn't get Rachel here, the original target. However, yeah, Carolyn is no chump. Like the fact that they took a swing here, got her out, is a huge blow. That they all could claim in the end. Whichever one of them got to the final end game. So yeah, totally. And I do think also the and Gabe in the chat. I just want to give a quick shout out. Yeah, he's really coming out saying that Andy really should have made this move. Like he absolutely was. This was the time to take a shot. And I just want to be clear because there definitely was some like discourse at the time that Andy was like dumb for doing this or just chaotic. But like no, I like he's someone who's self-aware enough to know that like if you are socially kind of a mess, your game at the end, your pitch at the end is going to have to be more game focused. Like you're going to have to do that. And I think he's also trying to show people that like he has self-awareness of like, what is the 1 through whatever, how many 8 people are left. Like if we had the final tribal vote right here, where would I stack up? And he's like, I would be at the bottom of like, how many votes I would get compared to the other people left. So I have to do some things to both boost my like potential jury equity at the end to get some votes and also do some things here that recognize my current game position, which is that I need to like shake things up. I don't want to just go to the end with other people's plans. So I really, really, really respect the taking a big swing here and doing something other than just like going along with, the majority's plans.
yes, and Gabe, yes, you are right. I don't like when people just do big moves just for the sake of doing big moves. I always blame Will Wall for that. But I do think in this situation, it was a big, because if we go back to 46, Liz is trying to do these things for win equity at the end, because she understands right now I have to do something. I do think this is the same thing, except for Andy actually succeeds. Now the problem is what we're going to get to in the next episode. But I do agree. Like as much as I don't like big moves for the sake of making big moves, then we get things like this. It's like, yes, we meaning Andy kind of need this right now, and he's helping out the two people on the bottom, the two biggest threats outside of Rachel, who we're not acknowledging as a threat. And then the execution. So we're sitting at trial. Everyone is playing their roles to perfection, like the both of y'all said. Everyone's playing their roles to perfection. And what I noticed this time is when that third Caroline vote comes out, she's in shock for a second. Like you see her sit back like this and just kind of look around. Like I won't say I felt for her. I mean, I feel for her as a human being, but that was one of those, the lights just kind of went out in her eyes. Like I felt like she just kind of drifted through, getting the torch snuffed and everything like that. But we lose Caroline. Andy is very obviously making known that it was him that did it. The jury are saying, oh man, Andy flipped again. But we don't know if that's being respected or not at this point. What I alluded to earlier, a second ago, after what Josh said, was so begins the Rachel Sue revenge tour, because now Andy has shown he's just going to. So, Mark, talk about Rachel's Tony moment of coming up on everyone on the beach and her conversation with Sue right afterwards.
Sue is such a great hothead character. Like you need these hothead characters to make it far. For people with some subtlety like Rachel to make it farther. Because as a person that takes pride in subtlety, sometimes watch my game in Survivor New York. I have a fun episode coming up this week.
I'm watching the most recent episode after this. So
This one's not as fun as next week's for me, but well, this week's for me. Regardless, you know what happens this week, Drew. But regardless, um, it's there's an emotional intelligence to Rachel Lamont that is part of the reason why she's the winner that a lot of people will never understand. She understands her place in the game. She understands how to fix her place in the game. She understands who she needs to talk to. Because, oh, wait, Sue's number one just got voted out. I need to help. I need to light that fire more, you know? So, and also, like, I think at this point in the game, everyone started thinking of Sue as a goat. So it's like, why not go again with the goat, you know?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about what happens at Final Tribal, where I think Gabe kind of compares Rachel to Mike Holloway. Now, this time around, Worlds Apart, I gained a new respect for Worlds Apart that I had never had my previous however many times I watched it. I've always been a Mike Holloway person, and I've never really understood.
He's hard not to like. He's a likable guy.
Yeah, I've never understood why people shit on the win. And what I realized this time around, especially, is when people say, "Oh, well, he had the idols." Yeah, he had to, because no one wanted to work with him, because he tries to do the same thing that Rachel does here, where he goes to the people on the bottom and say, "Hey, we should probably do something." And Sue thankfully does it. These jamokes on Worlds Apart, and it's like, oh no, Mike's crazy. Mike's the crazy guy. We can't work with the crazy guy. We got to get rid of him. We can't do this. We can't do that. So I feel like it's a compliment to put her in that category of Mike Holloway, because she had a group. That group kind of turned on her when they realized that she was the biggest threat, and she was still able to pick people to be on her side, including this round where she doesn't have immunity. You know, she doesn't have immunity going, and Sue still votes with her anyway. What I forgot was that the finale is split up into 2 weeks, and the first one is 2 hours, and the second one is 2 hours. But thankfully, I only have to watch an hour of it because I don't watch the reunion.
Right.
Josh, I know a lot to unpack there.
But can I state
that
something?
Comparison to Mike and maybe Ben? Do you? Okay, yeah, Mark, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, because like I remember when the season was airing, and I started feeling like Rachel might win. I would start comparing to Ben Draper. Like, as I think you both know, I'm a huge Ben Draper 1.0 fan. I'm like that guy that will defend his game because he played from every angle of the game and won. And Rachel was top, bottom, all that stuff, and chaotic player and won. Granted, I feel like her game's different than Ben's, but like very Ben Draper encoded also. Continue. I'm sorry.
No,
you're good, man.
This is good. This is good for me to jump in because I definitely disagree. I think that Rachel is different than the what I would say than Ben and Mike. Is that what she does differently is that she doesn't socially isolate herself in a way that happens to these people that go on these immunity runs. Terry, Ben, Mike. I mean, even some of these other people like Brad Culpepper. Like people who don't win, you know, like there is a Chrissy,
yeah,
Chrissy, exactly, yeah. People, a lot of times Savannah from 49, I know she does win, but there's still this sense that like, you know, really rubs people the wrong way. You can let like a lot of these immunities, whether it's from idols or challenges, like wearing the necklace, like it could really go to your head. I mean, you know, see Ozzy 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, like, you know, like it can really get to your head, like when you're so protected. Now I think Rachel stands out to me as people who have gone on these runs that doesn't do that, and I really respect her for that. However, I still do think that this is not what I think is like optimal Survivor gameplay. I think that it gets really fluky when it comes down to idols' advantages. When you're Ben, you need, you know, there to be an unforeseen twist to save you in the end there. Like you just, there's stuff that just, like Ozzy loses the Final Four challenge to Sophie. Like who would have ever predicted that? If you were, you know, if Kalshi existed at that point, like, you know, they would have been all over smashing that Ozzy, you know, minus 200 bet and lost a lot of money. But like, I don't think that it's like ideal. I don't think it's a place that Rachel wanted to find herself in. However, the reason she's in that spot is because there's some very savvy game players. While Mike is playing Worlds Apart with crazy people, like on the top and on the bottom against him, Rachel is playing with a extremely savvy opposition in Genevieve and Sam at this point, and then also you have Andy, who's like, you know, if you've ever played Bang or like the card game, this, you know, like he's like the renegade, he's the guy that like floats between the two sides, like, and he understands. All these people understand like the mechanics of Survivor strategy enough to know that like that they can't let Rachel get away with this. They can't let Genevieve get away with this. So like there's like all these positionings that like make the game fluid. So all that to say, I think that Rachel had a much tougher competition when it comes to the social strategy maneuvering for some of these people who've went on these immunity runs. So I respect her for that. However, I would not put her at the top of my like winners list of who played the best game. Rachel might be top 3 people I would pick from any new era cast as far as like run the simulation and have them play Survivor. She's like a extremely well-rounded player, very smart, socially great, self-aware. So it's not about like who she is. I think that this type of game for me is like it ends up having to rely on some luck, and the luck went her way as well as like her good play. So that would be my interpretation of her game here.
We I know I already said this, but we have a 2-week finale basically. And I remember when they announced it, I'm like, okay, this would be a fine stopping point right here, because we go into the finale with 5 or 6. This is a good stopping point here. Instead, we get all the way to the final 4 before that first episode ends. So the finale is just immunity, fire making, final tribal. I feel like they could have done some cuts here and there and just made it 1 week, but whatever. It's not the hourglass twist, so we're all good. Back to the revenge tour. Rachel has a funeral, basically, where she's going to go home and eventually idles out Andy. Caroline says, fuck yeah. Like and I don't know how loud she said it, but just the way that she expressed with her eyes and her body, it felt like it was going to be loud. But she could have just mouthed it. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I just want to say one of the interesting things that I've talked with Andy about this moment in the game is this is like a tip for anybody out there who's like potentially going to go play Survivor or play one of these Survivor games, you know, if you want to win, you know, your Survivor home game, but just that like people can have more than one advantage. And like, that's like, this thing, like it's a schema that we don't typically apply in Survivor. You're like, oh, do they have an idol? Do they not have an idol? Do they have an advantage? Not an advantage. Well, Rachel had both. She had a vote blocker and she had a hidden idol. And Andy was just like talking to me about the psychological, like everybody out there, like when he's talking with Sam and Genevieve at this point, like they're all just like, well, we know she has the vote block thing because Teeny goes and tells them at this point, like about this. And they're like, well, okay, that's the thing she has, you know? And so that like, they're not the thought of like, oh, like she has another idol, like, you know, on top of that, it's just like not on their radar as far as like what's possible. And I just thought that was really interesting because it actually reminds me, I don't know if you guys have ever seen House, but House is based on this woman, this doctor, very famous, has like all these cases. And she says the one thing that people don't understand about sicknesses is the hardest thing to diagnose is if somebody just has 2 things. Like if you have like 2 sets of symptoms, like, and you're like trying to compare them, like you just don't think about going to the doctor. I could have a cold, like I could have a virus and a bacterial infection. And that's why this like is like really weird or whatever. So anyways, like, I just think like Rachel in this moment, like they didn't think like she could have a virus and a bacterial infection at the same time here. And Andy underestimates that in talking with her. However, I know like we're like very biased with Andy here, but I really, really like him talking to Rachel here. I think it's very smart for him to do because again, if Andy goes out here, he loses. Okay. If Rachel goes out here as planned and he just doesn't take this time to try to, again, continue to shake up the game, he still probably loses to Sam or Genevieve if he gets there. Like he realizes that like it's likely that Sam, Genevieve, Rachel, like one of them's going to be there. If Rachel's going to go home here, he's going to have to really start to build up his like story and like have someone who understands his game be there with him and be there to like advocate for him on the jury. And so I think that Andy recognizes he's really has to like, he can't just start hitting singles here towards the end. He really has to start swinging for the fences and make big plays. Yeah. And so he gets egg on his face, but he gets egg on his face for not just going down like a chump and being a 0 vote finalist in the final 3.
Yeah, he goes out as the person behind the biggest move of the season. Now, I do agree that he probably loses against any of those three, but him going out like that it's nothing to laugh at or anything. I feel like he goes out the way that character should be going out, in a way that is deserving of what he has done up to this point in the game. And that'll be our last thing talking about Andy probably today.
It was a glorious death, that he died there.
Exactly. Yes. Mark, we're going to lose Genevieve here at 5. And, we're going to get, at my notes I have, Genevieve is gone to eventually get Aubrey in 50. Everyone knows I was Team Genevieve during that whole mess of a rivalry in 50. But we're going to lose Genevieve here in a 3-2 vote still. Somehow Genevieve almost stays anyway. Mark, final thoughts on Genevieve 1.0.
I think she is the best invisible for half the season characters that the show's ever had. Like, obviously that pays off dividends in 50, regardless of people's opinion on how that goes. I'm not going to spoil 50 for the people that haven't watched 50, but watch 50. Drew's watching in 2 days, 3 days. Regardless, she's like that really fun type of player on Survivor that doesn't make it far typically. The reason why is because I feel like the smart physical person tends to get taken out once they start realizing that threats have to get out. Like the only other person I can think of that makes it this far, that's that category. Oddly enough, we talked about him 2 weeks ago, Dr. Allison.
Yeah, that is a great comparison. That's a deep cut comparison.
I think it's because we've talked about she's emotionally closed off and she's doing it intentionally to protect herself. But those people are people who don't usually go that far in the game. If you're not making deep bonds with other people.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating because
has my mind blown.
Thank you. I mean, we get Josh for the fun. We get Josh for the smart, and me for the color. That's why we podcast involved whenever we podcast. Yeah, it's a thing of there's two of the smartest, intelligent, emotionally smart women out there in the season, and both could have won the season. And they both played it very differently too. Because I feel like Rachel's kind of a semi-raw nerve for half the season, and Genevieve is Ice Queen that doesn't want to have ice.
Yeah,
she's learned to let go.
Yeah. Rachel wins her 4th immunity, tying her with a bunch of people up to this point, and we're going to get one more person in a couple of days. So now Rachel has established herself as the best physical person, one of the best social people, and one of the best strategic people on a season that is stocked full of these people. This season has everyone for every category, and she's competing. And this is another reason why 47 is one of the best for me, is because we have, Mark said 17 of 18, fit some. I feel like everyone, for the most part, fits inside of, a very good social, strategic, or physical player. And it all comes to a head here. Rachel wins her 4th immunity. And we have Teeny versus Sam for Final Four fire making, in my favorite Final Four fire making since season 40.
Interesting.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I was just really into it today. I wasn't really into it at any other point. I really liked. Oh shoot, I already forgot her name. 43. Who won fire in 43?
Gabler.
No, not 43. 44.
Heidi.
I really enjoyed watching Heidi win in 3 minutes or whatever it was. Outside of that, I don't really care. But I was really invested in this one for some reason. And I think it's because it was, at least from what we're seeing, it's very close. And Teeny is winning for most of it. And his rope just will not burn. And the fire is sitting on it. And then when Sam and Tina just kind of goes down like this, like, yeah, you really feel for the guy because he had it in the bag. Like it was going to burn. Josh, just thoughts on this Final Four fire making? Do you? Yes, we know what the outcome's going to be, but do you think that this is the optimal choice for the two people to go to fire? What do you think? What are your thoughts on everything surrounding this?
Yeah, I mean, once Rachel wins, it's just inevitable. I mean, I remember going into this part 2 of the finale, and just feeling like it was the week of Rachel. Like, in ancient Rome, when you conquered like a city, they would just take a week to do a huge coronation procession, not coronation, but like a procession down to the middle of the city. They literally just like stop, have a party for a day, and then go, a few more steps and then have another party. And then until they got to the city center. And that's what it felt like the week of, leading to this episode. It's like, we all know Rachel's going to win this game. Like, she's either going to win the Final Four challenge or she's going to win the Final Four fire making. Like, she's got the edit. Like, it just felt like, the most inevitable lead up to a finale that I could remember, especially since they divided it in half, we had already gotten through the final 5 at this point. So all I have to say, once she wins the Final Four here, I do feel like she has reached the city center and she's like, okay, my conquest is complete and now you two can, fight it out. I'm not saying there wasn't some intrigue with Sam versus Rachel in the final 3. I bet it was more real on the island than it was, like watching it at home where it felt inevitable for me. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think that, you take I think if you're Rachel at that point, it doesn't really matter. You take the chance that Sam could lose here, and then you have an easier, final 3 without him. And if he wins, it's not, that big of a deal, and you could still beat him in the final 3. So
I think Sam did actually a really good final 3. Personally,
yeah,
I think his final
totally agree.
incredible.
We're gonna get to that. Oh, I guess before we get to that, because I only have one question before we get there, is this is our 3rd season of the hybrid final tribal, where we have 1 through 33 are what we are used to. 34 through 44 are the panel, and now we have a hybrid of it's a panel, but we're going to ask one at a time, and people can kind of chime in here and there, but for the most part, we all get our. What are you guys' thoughts on this hybrid version of the 2 first versions of Final Tribal?
Yeah, it must be interesting for you to watch them in such close succession, because I kind of wish we would go back to the original format of everybody stands up, and they get to give a speech, ask like one question per person, or one question for each of them to answer, and then sit back down. Like, I do think I miss kind of the drama of that. Now Survivor's like, well, we had a lot of bad jurors like that, didn't really give a lot, so we had to fast forward through those. So they like the option it gives them to edit people out of the jury if they're not talking, or to give people who don't want to talk, like has happened before, just they don't have to say anything if they don't have anything to say. So I don't know, but all I have to say, sorry, I'm answering your question not very directly, but I do think that like my favorite version would be stills, and I think this is what they get to by the time we get to 50 is everybody. It really does just like focus in on everybody talking, like one person at a time, versus this like cross talk, and it feel more like conversational. I like the drama of it feeling like we have kind of this interrogation happening.
Yeah,
I personally love the hybrid. I think, because me, I'm like very big on the panel. I think that one person at a time, it doesn't really scratch the itch I wanted to. It's good for weird moments, but that's about it for me personally. I think the panel's pretty good. I think the hybrid's really smart. It's like, hey, we're gonna talk about this one thing, and then I have people try to do what they want to do. So I'm pro the discussion of tribal council.
My least favorite is definitely the when Jeff was trying to frame it as the outplay, outwit, outlast. Like, I was just like that is my least favorite version, where you're putting constructs on you're introducing voting criteria into the game when it inherently is a subjective criteria-less vote. Like, there's no right way or wrong way to vote for somebody in the end.
and it's because he was sad that Aubrey lost.
I know. There's so many things that happen because of that.
Stu drops the bombshell with a whimper. No one really cares. And we get to the Sam portion of this, where in my notes I have Sam puts on an all-time great second place performance. Now, before I get to y'all and y'all's thoughts on some of the things he says, what I appreciated, and I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but no one says here our minds aren't made up, which is something that I talked about a couple of days ago. I don't like when people say that because, for the most part, their minds are made up. And I feel like based off of Sam's performance here and what the vote count is, I feel like the vote was that most of their minds were kind of made up, because I do feel like in this, a few more votes, if people's minds were open to voting for him. But Josh, thoughts on Sam's final tribal performance?
Yeah, I mean, he's an orator. He's a speaker. Like, again, he's the jock presenting drama kid. Like, he knows how to, like, perform when the lights are bright. So yeah, Sam is great. He's been great on, all the RHAP podcasts I've listened to him on. Like, he's a good yapper. So get him in the final tribal, even if he doesn't have as good of a game to claim as Rachel does, he still, is going to give it his best shot. If he had been on equal playing field, it would have been really interesting to see, like, them go at it. But when you're chasing somebody, like, the whole game to get them out, and you don't get them out, it's just really tough to sit next to them in the end. I will say, I think that, like, the last thing I'll just say is with Sam here is that he, oh, dang it, I lost my thought. I'll get back to it in a second. So we can kick it to you, Mark.
I think, like I said, like, when I first watched this season, Sam didn't really click for me that much. Like, okay, cool. Like, he's the cool guy. Like, that's what he is. He's the cool guy. I'm like watching this rewatching, my big thing, like, is like when I told Drew that I wanted to rewatch this season, it wasn't just because, like, yeah, I love Rachel Lamont. It was also, and like, because, obviously he's a friend, but it was also like, I wanted to see, like, what I missed in the season from the initial watch. Now that I know, like, the end point. And I think, like, the edit throughout the whole season could be a Sam win. He's such a major character in those early days in Gata. And, like, yeah, like, obviously, like, a little bit of a rough patch, but, like, he always perseveres. And I think his final tribal council is really good. I just think, honestly, like, they wanted to give it to Rachel more, which I would have voted for Rachel too, because you see what she's doing in that game, and, like, she's really, really smart and doesn't come off like a weirdo about being really smart,
Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay, yeah, whatever. I'm curious to see what is coming off as a weirdo being smart. I need to know an example of that.
I hate to say this because there's someone that's become a friend of mine, but, like, Cochran in both of his seasons.
Okay, that is a perfect example. What I would say is, I was trying to think of a comparison for Sam's final tribal compared to a second or third placer. I threw Michelle Fitzgerald in Winners at War in there because I think she kills it there. I think Natalie Anderson kills it there too. I would say even people like Susie Smith. Susie Smith is one of my favorite second place final tribals in Gabon, because I thought that she was the only one out there, like, actively saying, this is what I was doing in the game. Sugar's laying down. Dr. Bob is saying, oh, I really didn't, and Susie's out there fighting for her life and still lose. I think she loses by a vote there. So I don't obviously I think Sam is better than Susie, whatever that means, but that's the comparison that I got to. All right. But ultimately, Rachel does win. She only does not get one vote. And all I could think about was yesterday, because yesterday Maria didn't vote for Charlie, and the internet got so pissed off that you didn't vote for your number one ally. Well, Sierra didn't vote for Sam, and Gabe didn't vote for Sue, and I didn't hear any type of backlash with that, and those were clear number ones. Obviously, it's a blowout, but Josh, why do you think the backlash wasn't as crazy as it was the season before?
Oh, I mean, it wasn't as crazy because it didn't matter. But but I also don't think they're the same thing. I think that everybody understood. Well, especially Gabe voting for Sue. Like Sue was not going to win. Like
It's not gonna work, yeah.
like so that's like he has a chance to vote to weigh in between Rachel and Sam, like who's going to win there. And many people have said this on the final three. Like some people in Winners at War have said that they would have voted for Michelle if it was a final two versus Tony, but they were afraid that Tony was going to lose to Natalie, so they voted for Tony. Like this kind of stuff happens when there's a final three. We don't have ranked choice voting yet, okay, in Survivor. Maybe if they do, Canadian Survivor, they'll do some ranked choice voting or something. But
in the open era, we're gonna do
okay. I was just gonna say my last thought on that, just to answer your question, is just I think that like Maria telling somebody like, I cannot wait for you to meet my kids, Uncle Charlie. I can't wait to introduce them to Uncle Charlie. That is a level of like of certainty, or like what you're projecting is that we are like, I get it. It's also that like she saw Charlie's game and what he did, and for her, she decided not to vote based on that criteria, which is fine. Like again, people can vote however they want. Like that's Survivor. However, Charlie, he like banking on Maria's vote and then not getting it, and that being the one vote that cost him, is also devastating, because there's no other calculation that he should, if he's like, oh, my entire game could boil down to one single vote, he's like, I'm picking, Maria to be that vote. Like, and that's not the person who gives it to you, gives it to him. Where other people from more distance to his game and who he is as a person and his character and playing through with the whole thing, they give him votes. But the person who's closest to him, that's a really tough pill to swallow. That's like really devastating. And I think that Sierra not voting for Sam here might be the closest comp, in this season. However, when you have somebody who's dominated like Rachel has, in the way that Sam has played, Kenzie got the vote in the end for different reasons. It wasn't, oh, I played a better game than Charlie. It's, I am, a struggling young woman. This money could change my life. I have fought inside and outside of this game, but mostly outside is what I want you to think about. Like Sam he's getting up there giving these speeches. He's saying he's played a great game. He's saying, I want you to evaluate the criteria of your vote on the same way that Rachel wants you to do it, which is based on, our game and strategy. But in all honesty, Rachel played a better game than him. So I just think that it's like less harsh and easier pill to swallow because they're voting for the same, reason.
And that's why everyone should go follow Future Past Survivor on Instagram, where you get all types of knowledge dropped on you like that from Josh. Josh, thank you. That was amazing, and I really appreciate. That was the point of me asking that question, is to see how you would answer. So thank you for that. Now we're going to get into
canceled. Okay.
Our final thoughts on the season before we get to our final two questions. Mark, final thoughts on Survivor 47.
I think it's really great. It is one of the seasons where I feel like in the pre-merge, some of the 90-minute episodes could be 45 minutes, but that's just my own personal take on that. I think in general, most of 90-minute episode seasons are perfect at 90 minutes long. But rewatching 47, there was 2 episodes like that, which was 45 minutes. Regardless, I think that we have some of the most exciting players that play the game. Such a really fun winner. Such really fun, adversaries in general. Fun gameplay. Fun tropes. The most boring person of the season is just a normal guy. The most boring person of the season is just a normal human being who, does well in comps. That's it. I this season got one of my friends to watch it because of John Lovett, and then didn't stop watching until the end because it was that good of a season. And she still watches Survivor.
I need you to talk to my dad then. Josh, final thoughts on Survivor 47.
Yeah, Great season. My favorite of the new era. I mean, 45 and 47 are my top two with a bullet for sure. 46 is third right there. I just think this run that we went on, 45, 46, 47, we didn't quite know what we had until we got to 48 and 49. And I think that those were two of the weaker seasons in Survivor in the new era, but also in I think in just in the history of the show. And it's, a lot to do with what production does, and yeah. And I think that, like, while there's some things that I would tweak here with, why do we need to have them running around finding dollars for the auction? Like, that's not necessary. We also got some really fun stuff, like Rachel's, like, challenge out there on the buoys, like, which they bring back for 50. Yeah, I shouldn't talk about that. That's one of the worst moments. So it was F Jimmy Fallon. Okay, I'll get that in here a couple days early.
But her version of it is fantastic.
No, having like that was inspired to have the, like, the jigsaw, like, memorial challenge. Yeah, where you're just like look like you're living out a Saw in real life. So yeah, all let's say I 47, my favorite of the new era. I think the tactical stuff, which again, yeah, you could go follow us on Future Past Survivor. That's what we really love getting into. Like, 47 had the most depth as far as, like, nuanced, out of the box, galaxy brain thinking, and that's what was super fun. Operation Italy, Rachel shot without an idle chaser. You have the rice in the pocket, there's just like fun things that the giving up the shot in the darks, like there's so many things that the players did that were outside of the box this season, and that's for me what really sticks out.
Bloody Sue.
Yeah, Bloody Sue. Andy being the first person to not grab the Beware advantage. Like, again, like, there's just, like, creativity and generative spirit that, like, pervaded the season that made it so fun.
Rome's Paddington hat. Like.
For me, through 47 seasons, so for the first time since David vs. Goliath, I have a new season in my top 10. So I have Survivor 47 at number 10, right in front of Vanuatu, which drops right out of my top 10, and right behind Survivor Token Genes. Survivor 47 is my favorite Survivor season of the post-COVID era. If we're looking at, you said 47, 45, and 46, those are my three as far as post-COVID Survivors are concerned. I love this season, and it's a season that I feel like could end up in my top 5 if I were to ever do this marathon again, which I don't plan on. All right. Final two questions. One, who's your number one ally be this season?
My number one ally? Oh boy. I'm not going to choose my friend because I know how chaotic he is. I played Mafia with him. My number one ally would probably be Sam.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Josh?
Yeah, I would pick Andy. I just think I want somebody who just, like, I could just sit there and just be like, okay, what if we did this? I mean, similar to what Christian and Rick were able to, like, achieve this season with their duo, where they have this trust and they could just, like, workshop some crazy shit together. That's what I imagine, it'd be fun to do with Andy out there. The second person that comes to mind is Rachel. Like, I just, because of her, like, I feel like lock in with her, and she's also so smart and reasonable that we could do damage. So those would be my two.
Caroline would be for me. I feel like just level-headed, very loyal, and I feel it could possibly be a shield, depending on how things kind of go. And
she's such a fun character. Like, you don't get much of her in the season, but she's like, when she's there, she's like popping. Like, she's great.
I loved Caroline the first watch, and I've loved her more this time. Final question: who would be on your DVD cover for this season?
Well, Rachel and Andy, of course.
Rachel and Andy, okay.
Genevieve.
Saul and the best. You probably have Sam, Rachel, Andy, Genevieve. I feel like are the ones that feel pretty like those are the locks, and then some combo of Teeny, Rome, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's Teeny and Rome.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh yeah,
think
because that's
Roman
V6. So
definitely.
yeah, I feel like that's.
Gabe is a good one too because like Gabe is
Go
fun.
ahead.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah,
really talked
Gabe's
about
fun.
Gabe at all. He was a big
Like
part of
that's
the.
and like he's such a like I feel like he plays Survivor how you play Survivor, Josh.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, like he's like evil Josh. You know what I mean?
That's funny. Yeah, like the Wario version. Yeah, I would think that I liked that again. A lot of things he was thinking about, like I don't want to go down like a chump in like 46. I want to flush this idol. I don't want to lose because people are sketched out that I have an idol. Like stuff like that. That like I really like the out of the box thinking. I think for him, I don't think I could play this like mastermind puppeteering game like he tried to play. That would be not my version. I'm much more of a come at you straight type of person with like more like Christian, where I'm like, okay, like I'm not trying to control anybody. I want to find people who I can move through the game with as partners, and that's where I think Gabe and I would approach things a little bit differently.
Last thing on Gabe, since yes, we didn't talk. I was convinced that Gabe was going to be on season 50 because of what he said on his way out. I was like, oh, they left it in the edit because they want him back. So much for that. Okay, so Josh, what do we have going on the channel this summer or moving forward?
Great question. We cover Survivor Weekly, so there's no U.S. Survivor right now. But I do have an interview coming out soon with one of the they call themselves the Press Avengers. I love it. The crew that flies out to Fiji, that was part of the crew that flies out to Fiji to cover Survivor. So one of the on the ground reporters will be talking with me and my co-host Brian coming up soon. But you can check that out at futurepastsurvivor.com. I'm at Josh Kettles on Blue Sky and Instagram. That's the place you can find me. And yeah, we also have a Future Past Survivor Instagram as well. But if you love tactics, strategy, the more niche, the better. We love when people write in and give us their ideas of stuff you could do with things like the shot in the dark, or I don't know, the amulets, the beware advantage, like just whatever kind of like ways you can creep around the rules and mechanics of the game. That's what we're trying to figure out and unearth over there in our little nerdy corner.
Well, as I've done with most of my guests that I count as the OGs, you two, thank you so much for being on this journey with me for the last 5 years. I've really appreciated seeing how big, Josh, you have gotten, and Mark, you going on Squid Games. Like I'm glad to have been there from the humble beginnings of both of y'all. So thank you so much. I hope that I can have you back for even 30 seconds on Sunday during the live stream. If not, thank you so much, everyone in the chat, Instagram DMs, all that. Just, you guys
didn't get a chance to say anything.
Oh yes, yeah.
Sorry, I was like, I know you're wrapping up. You follow me at MarkLevy85, Movie Mark on TikTok. You can book me on Cameo if you'd like me to say nice things to people that you love. My rates are really nice, and also you're guaranteed like at least a 3-minute long video. You can watch me on Netflix on Squid Game the Challenge. See how I do. You will see me if you watch the show. Also, I'm on Survivor New York season 6, which is airing on YouTube on Sunday nights. And yeah, like I think this is like a highlight of my LRG career this week. So that's all I'm going to say about that. It's actually a thing where I think about what happens and I actually get teary eyed still. This was 4 years ago almost. So I'm very proud of that. But yeah, love doing this. I'm happy I chose only good seasons this time. Drew, I think I hope you enjoy 48 because I actually do like 48. And I hope you have a good experience watching 49 because it'll be interesting watching it without like the context of what's to come in 50 after it,
Yes, I do agree. I think I'm gonna have a lot more fun with 49 this time around, and 48 the pre-merge is fun. So, Josh, Reese.
No, I'm just saying, make sure you stay hydrated. Watch out for those banded sea crates. You can do this. You're almost at the end, Coach Drew. We believe in you.
Thank you all, and we will be back tomorrow for Survivor 48.